Hello there. That old commie, Jeremy Corbyn, might be about to make a big splash by starting his own political party. Yes, the scuttlebutt is that one of the main denizens of the UK hard left, who was able to camouflage himself quite nicely inside the slightly more moderate Labour Party, is about to do a phoenix and rise from the ashes of his own self-engineered demise. That's right, the arch jam maker and allotment lurker from Islington is mulling over whether he should set up his own political party, now that he's lost the Labour Party whip with little to zero chance of it being reinstated. But he still feels the need to attempt to engage politically with a nation that outright rejected his brand of far-left socialism in the last general election. And the thinking is that Corbyn could convert his charity organisation, the Peace and Justice Project, into a political party as his vehicle back into the big time. But Corbyn isn't the only one, as I'll come on to in a minute. Now, apart from having his own new party, the only other options for Corbyn are to join a different party, but which one? Or to publicly apologise for his comments about the allegations of anti-Semitism inside Labour being dramatically overstated for political reasons, so he can have the whip reinstated. Or to remain as an independent politician and stand as such at the next election. Bear in mind, he is still a Labour Party member. It's just that Starmer continues to withhold the party whip from him as an MP. And Starmer is insisting on the apology as the price for readmission to the Labour MP fold. But Corbyn isn't giving it. Now, those close to Corbyn do own that there has been some talk about a new political party, but there have as yet to be any advanced talks, they say. However, there will be many around the country who would welcome a new left-wing Corbyn-led political party. However, most of them would be more than likely to be on the centre to the right wing of the political spectrum. After all, Corbyn still does have a very sizable chunk of support within the left-wing ranks of the Labour Party. Support that is still hoping that he will be reinstated so they can start to work on ditching their current leader Keir Starmer and reinstating their preferred choice Jeremy Corbyn. But a couple of the big hitters that used to support Corbyn, the former Shadow Chancellor John McDonnell and the former Shadow Home Secretary Old Odd Shoes Diane Abbott, are said to be happy to be staying with Labour. And Labour MP for Warrington North, Charlotte Nichols, said, "I don't believe a single member of the Parliamentary Labour Party will leave to join him, even in the very unlikely event there's actually any truth behind this." And she went on to say that anyone that does defect should call a by-election and let their constituents decide. Now, unless Corbyn either retires or apologises, he will face a Labour Party competitor for his seat of Islington North at the next general election. A seat he's held since 1983, and even though his 33,000 majority was well carved into in the 2019 general election, it is still over 26,000. A tough call for anyone to overturn where such a big name, at least locally, is concerned. But the talk is that Labour is gearing up for Mary Creagh, who lost her Wakefield seat in 2019 and very vocally blamed Corbyn for that heavy defeat, to stand against him. But there is no guarantee that she would win. And maybe a new Corbyn-led party with a couple of years to bed in would help him keep himself safely in the Islington North seat. The Tories, of course, are likely to be delighted that Corbyn could be on the verge of splitting the Labour Party, thus making them less of a threat at the next general election. But I'm not so sure about that one. Jeremy Corbyn will act as a magnet for the loony left, while the more sensible and moderate within the Labour Party, if there is such a thing still, would likely stay with Starmer. In fact, a Corbyn-free Labour Party might attract those who were previously frightened away by the hard left within the party. And that might not be the outcome that the Tories are looking for, but a welcome one for Labour and Starmer. Because the hard left in the UK is a small faction, and they only pose a danger while they control the Labour Party and hide behind a very thin and shabby facade of normalcy. Most on the left would rather like to see the return of a more traditional and electable Labour Party. So at the end of the day, Corbyn's new party might end up keeping Corbyn in his seat, but bolstering the Labour Party instead of his own new offering. But it is well worth bearing in mind that Corbyn has 2.4 million Twitter followers, as compared to the 1.1 million that follow Starmer. But at the moment this is all conjecture. Let's see if Corbyn takes the plunge. But there is one person who has already taken the plunge. Gina Miller has started her own political party called the True and Fair Party, which was authorised by the Electoral Commission on the 8th of December. And she is due to unveil her new party this week at the Queen Elizabeth II Centre on Thursday. And for those few who don't know, Gina Miller is an arch pro-EU supporter who took Theresa May's government to court to force Parliament to pass legislation to further force a parliamentary vote on the triggering of Article 50 that took us out of the EU. She no doubt hoped forcing the vote would allow MPs to vote against it, so keeping us in the EU. But faced with the 17.4 million votes to leave, MPs didn't. Parliament voted to trigger Article 50 and the rest is history. Except by doing this, Gina Miller probably also ensured a harder Brexit than she would have wished. Now Miller hopes to break the current two-party state with her new party and said that this government needs to be held to account. Voters deserve better than the current politics of incompetence and self-interest. So it'll be interesting to see what angle her new party takes on our relationship with the EU. Because the last thing we need is the incompetence and self-interest of Brussels back on our landscape. And there is also a pro-EU rejoin the EU campaign group out there still arguing for the UK to get back into the EU, despite only 39% of the population wanting that, according to a recent YouGov poll. The European movement, as it's called, says it is on battle stations for the next general election and is recruiting like mad. All of them tasked with visiting supermarkets to find empty shelves and talking about shortages of HGV drivers, no doubt. And what has Michael Gove been up to? But before I get on to him, I just want to say a massive thank you to all my Super Thanks, Patreon and PayPal supporters, as well as those that do buy a mug with my mug on it. Links in the descriptions box below. You really do help me keep this channel going. So Michael Gove, the Secretary of State for Housing, Communities and Local Government, was late for his BBC interview slot. And why? Because he got stuck with his security man in the BBC elevator. But to be fair to Gove, he did call in and offer to do the interview from inside his temporary prison. So much for levelling up then. And I'm surprised the BBC isn't asking for another quid on the TV licence so as to get all the lifts refurbished. But I do have to say that in these modern times of trying to stay fit and saving taxpayer money, etc., why have lifts? What's wrong with the stairs? And no one's yet spilled the beans on whether masks are meant to be worn in BBC lifts and whether Mr. Gove was wearing one or not. Or was it all just an excuse to have a quick party? Seriously though, I've just had a look across the media and there's one big subject that is dropping off virtually all the top slots. The pandemic. And that can only be good news. Well, apart from the Novak Djokovic story, of course. But that's now more a political story than a health story. A political story about an almost tyrannical Australian government trying to push an agenda that is fast approaching its sell-by date. Although the UK PM Boris Johnson has dropped a broad hint today that if Djokovic doesn't change his mind, he might find himself barred from Wimbledon. But I have to wonder if all this will be anything more than a bad memory by then, and stopping Djokovic playing might end up looking totally pointless. So what's your opinion on a potential Jeremy Corbyn political party? Please like and comment below. Please subscribe and like this video, buy a mug and support me on Patreon or PayPal, and thank you for watching.